Welcome back to Crystal Clear. I'm Oshrik Fox, and this is my breakdown of Steven Universe Future, episode 14, Growing Pains. Of course, spoiler warning, if you are not caught up with Steven Universe Future, please go watch and then come back. With all that said, let's dive in. We start with Steven watching a new dog copter trailer where the titular hero and his partner Drew are found at the tail end of a mission. The dog Drew likely being a nod to one of the storyboards for this episode, Drew Green. And then they get engaged. Gay rights. Now this could be a genuine coincidence with the storyboarders, but Steven felt as if he was generally being drawn a bit thinner yet still round throughout Future, especially once he became vegetarian. But that was often obscured by his jacket. Here though, it looks like he might have gained some of his weight back in his post-rejection warning. Eating ice cream with sundae sauce in the middle of the afternoon? Do you know how much cholesterol is in that, Steven? His room is a lot messier, and he's turning pink at a frequent rate. However, he's immediately calmed down and back to normal after speaking to his father. Greg reveals to the audience in this conversation that he's been away due to being on tour with Sadie and Shep. This conversation's interactions also place Greg in the category of people Steven feels as if he's losing, as since Greg is touring, he's away from his son, and Steven doesn't have the heart to say anything about how he's truly feeling. Steven ventures into his freezer for more comfort food, unsettled by the sight of the glow stick that now doubles as a failed engagement ring. And this framing in itself is identical to Gem Glow, with the original glow stick tucked in the back amidst Steven's cookie cats. Also want to draw attention to the slow burn cookie dough ice cream, which is one of those very on-the-nose props. Slow burn is typically defined as a state of slowly mounting anger or annoyance, and it's often used when discussing storytelling in media when a story is building up to a particular plot point. So it makes you wonder, in this case, what will be the straw that breaks the camel's back? Also, another ice cream just says, I can't, which, Steven Universe fear. A new pink power manifests amongst Steven's stress, as random parts of his body begin to enlarge in size, hence the title of the episode, Growing Pains. However, the way Steven's body alters in size throughout this episode reminded me a lot of Amethyst when her gemstone was cracked in the episode An Indirect Kiss. While we learned the sort of Steven's pink flare-ups in this episode, we still don't have a full grasp of the effect it has on the gemstone, with how much focus I put on the corrupted Steven theory, and this ability resolving any issue of how can Steven grow that big in the first place. I feel like the similarities to Amethyst's condition was intentional. Granted, cracked gemstones are not akin to corruption, but they're still both results of a damaged gemstone, one having its damage visible on the outside, while the other's damage is more representative of the inside. Connie sets Steven up with an appointment with her mother, Dr. Priyanka Maheshwaran, whom, despite Steven's gem half, is confident she can assist Steven as Steven's body is still organic. And as Connie leaves the room, you can see her immediately raise her phone to her ear, which we later learn is her calling Greg to come speak to Steven. Connie is the MVP partner. Now I try to find a real world equivalent or some sort of Easter egg with Dr. Maheshwaran's Take Care of Yourself poster to no avail, but I do find it interesting that even if there's ultimately no connection, there are 6 circles just like the 6 crystal gems: garnet, amethyst, pearl, bismuth, peridot, and lapis. Obviously Connie counts, but she's not a gem. So let's continue. The colors did not line up super well, but still, if this was intended to be some sort of Easter egg, I acknowledge that I at least tried. Priyanka learns Steven has never gone to the doctor before and gets ready to beat Greg's ass, and Steven goes through the process of a checkup. I found Steven's bubble leg interesting just because I love to see how that would work in action alongside his fists, and Steven's sign-in sheet is used as a transition here, so we get to read the information as follows. Steven writing his full name as Steven Quartz Cutie Pie DeMayo Diamond Universe, a nod to the previous episode where he stated that exact same name out loud. Date of birth, August 15th, which is the first time this has been stated in the series, though it was already stated years ago by Sugar herself. Social security number not available, as Steven was born off the grid. Address, the beach. City, Beach City. State, Delmarva. Phone number, 555-1234. Notice how there's no area code. Can't call that number. Employment, retired. So Steven currently considers himself out of work, with his previous employment being Earth Ambassador. So I assume that was the official title he came to after the events of Change Your Mind. And according to the height, Steven seems to be somewhere between 5'5" and 5'6", which may also be a joke of his fluctuating size in this episode. The 6 looks like it was initially written as a 5 and then corrected, but when it comes to him weighing in at 145 pounds, that's BS. No way Steven weighs less than me. I have a little bit of a tummy, but Steven just looks bigger than me. I call shenanigans. And it's not a height thing. I'm a short king. Gem logic be damned. And we see he also exercises moderately and takes vitamins. I like to imagine they're gummies, since he probably doesn't actually need vitamins, but he just loves them all too much, and they have no negative effect on his body. Being shown an x-ray of a human skeleton in the gems, who only their gemstones and amethyst food show up, Steven is shown the contrast between theirs and his, revealing multiple skull fractures, fractured bones, and his gemstone. Steven's gemstone being located right at the core of his spine helps to better understand why he was so weak and on the verge of death in the Change Your Mind. Not only does his gemstone more or less power his body, but it holds it together. You remove the gemstone, you pretty much break his ability to stand up straight. As Priyanka explains, Steven's powers held himself back together the moment the injuries occurred. But where are the incidents that could have led to this in the first place? Well, aside from being thrown around like a rag doll throughout the original series, particular moments were likely being headbutted by Jasper, Obsidian being forced to unfuse by being slammed against the structure by White Diamond's mech ship, and being decked in the face twice by Spinel. But finally ripping off the band-aid, Priyanka explains to Steven that although he recovered physically, he hasn't recovered mentally. Something we already knew, but the importance of this scene is that it's finally being brought to Steven's attention. He knew something was wrong, but he couldn't piece together what was wrong. With everyone Steven's helped in the past, most, if not all of them, were unaware of their underlying damage from past traumatic events. Now, Steven's walking a mile in those shoes, and it's not easy to accept. Going through all the traumatic events of the original series, Steven's trauma includes the events of Gem Glow, Bubble Buddies, Cat Fingers, So Many Birthdays, An Indirect Kiss, Steven the Sword Fighter, The Return, Jailbreak, Steven and the Stevens, Space Race, Keep Me City Weird, Horror Club, Maximum Capacity, Joyride, Keeping It Together, Chillited, Friendship, Nightmare Hospital, Catch and Release, Gem Drill, Gem Hunt, Bismuth, Earthlings, Bubbled, Mindful Education, Adventures in Light Distortion, Storm in the Room, Are You My Dad, The Trial, Off Colors, Large of the Stars, Jungle Moon, Reunited, Together Alone, and Change Your Mind, ending on the removal of Steven's gem, which, since he was literally dying, it was arguably the most traumatizing moment of his life. Now, I've seen some people claim that this came out of nowhere, and that the series never presented these as intense or traumatizing, and it's just like, are we watching the same show? Steven's expressions in those moments convey enough. As someone who's been in plenty of high-stress situations as a child that left me traumatized, you don't always have some grand reaction or meltdown every time. You don't burst into tears every single time you're traumatized. Sometimes you are just shocked, left at a blank stare, or simple scared reaction. It doesn't mean that it doesn't stick with you or that you don't think about it. Rebecca Sugar actually elaborated on this in an IO9 interview, stating, well, we say it very specifically in Growing Pains, that what he's experiencing is a gem equivalent of cortisol. At this point, Steven's been in so many life-threatening situations that his gem is responding as if his life is in danger. It's making him stronger, it's making him faster, it's making him heavier, it's making him whatever he needs to be to get out of a life-threatening situation. The problem is that he's not in a life-threatening situation, but his body has learned to react that way. His gem has learned to react that way, so that what's happening when he's turning pink, that reaction is his life-saving instinct. Essentially, Pink Diamond and Steven, for bearing her gemstone, are objectively the most powerful gems in the series, or at least the diamonds are as a whole, which we already could have figured out, because their ceiling is pretty much limitless. Steven's body and gemstone are adjusting to whatever ability he needs in that moment. That is dangerously OP, but at least they're using it in a way where there are clear negative ramifications. Once Steven begins to severely fluctuate in size, telling Connie he can't be around her, Greg saves the day with a classic father and son talk, Steven opening up about his third era problems. Now, the most impactful line in this scene is, without a doubt, how do I live life if it always feels like I'm about to die? And to pull once more from that interview, interviewer asks, what were the elements about Steven's overall headspace that you really wanted to illustrate over the arc of future? To which Sugar states, I was very inspired by the book The Deepest Well by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, which I had read a little bit ago. I was really surprised by the way that book describes the experience of toxic stress, and it resonated with me in terms of experiences that I had, not as a child, but in my early 20s. When I was 22, I was assaulted and I got away, but I began to experience something that I couldn't understand after it happened. Because I had escaped, I thought that nothing had happened, but I began to have trouble with my peripheral vision, and I felt like I couldn't see what was going on around me. Even as something as simple as going to the movie theater was so overwhelming. Just the sound and the size of the screen would leave me feeling dizzy. I didn't want to be inside it. I didn't want to be outside. I would have trouble breathing. And just reading this kind of broke my heart. Anyways, finishing up this breakdown, Greg calms Steven down and the two head back home. Having a better understanding of his problems, Steven now has to focus on how to cope, heal, and move forward. This brings us to the climax of Future, this episode ending on the frog mug from Gym Hunt. Steven drinking hot cocoa just like Honey Day out of the exact same mug. How can Steven deal with his problems? And where will this take all of us? Well, with only 2 weeks of the show left, I'm sure we're going to find out. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think? How did you feel about this episode? If you haven't, checked out our post show on it. And again, please stay safe out there. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Wash your hands. Wipe down surfaces. Social distance if you need to. That's such a weird term. Anyways, drop your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me at Vox. We're also on Instagram. Help Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please store a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Vox, signing out.